Welcome back to Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets right here on Mayo Media Network. I'm your host, Jake Hahn. We have a nice 10-game card in the NHL on Thursday. But before we get into it, please remember to like the show, subscribe to the channel, share it around if you know people that may enjoy it as well. I said it was a 10-game card. Let's hope it stays a 10-game card. You might be listening to this. Maybe it's down to 9 games or 8 games. Hopefully it's still 10 by the time you're listening to it. But COVID issues just running rampant through the NHL and all professional sports, really, for that matter. So 10 games for now. Let's get into it. Some DraftKings strategy at the end of the episode as well. First up on the card, we have the Florida Panthers minus 205 favorites on home ice to the LA Kings, who come into town at plus 175 on the money line. The over-under is set at 6 for this game. The Kings have been sneaky lately. They're actually 3-1-1 in their last 5 games, coming off of a 3-2 overtime loss in Tampa on Tuesday night, where they played quite well. This is game 2 of a tough 4-game road trip for them. They still have Carolina and Washington to play as well. Of note, 5 of their last 6 games have actually gone to the under. So the Kings have been playing some low event hockey of late. The Florida Panthers, on the other hand, a lot going on with this team right now. They've actually lost 2 games in a row, coming off a brutal 8-2 loss to Ottawa on Tuesday. I could not believe the final score of that hockey game. Could still be without Barkov in this game. He's been out for the last couple of games. I would expect to see Sergei Bobrovsky get the start, go back to the starter after Spencer Knight was bad once again on Tuesday. The young goaltender has certainly been struggling a little bit this year for the Florida Panthers. And some more news breaking late Wednesday from a Panthers perspective. Sam Bennett, Radko Gudas, Brandon Montour, and Carter Verhaeghe have all landed on the COVID protocol and will not play in this game. So the depth of the Florida Panthers is going to get tested here. I would jump on the Kings as soon as you can. It's still plus 175 as I'm recording right now. I just think with a thin Panthers lineup, possibly no Barkov as well, and the Kings actually playing some pretty decent hockey, looks like they're going to have a fully healthy lineup, at least as we speak right now. I think plus 175 is a big price. I mean, we just saw Ottawa go into Florida and take it to these Panthers. And I think the Kings are a little bit better than Ottawa, or at least on par with the Sens. So if the Sens can do it, I think the Kings can do it. Panthers dealing with some issues right now, and that's just a big dog price. So I'll roll the dice on the fact that the Kings can go in as big dogs and the Panthers losing streak will get extended to 3 games. Next up on the card, we have the Vegas Golden Knights minus 165 favorites on the road in New Jersey to take on the Devils, who are plus 145 home dogs. The over-under is 5.5 for this game. Vegas has won 2 games in a row, 5 of their last 6 games. So they're starting to get on a roll. 4-game road trip started with a 4-1 win in Boston on Tuesday, which was pretty nice. And what else can you say about Max Pacioretty? He's just a man possessed right now. Goals in 7 straight games, 10 goals in those 7 games. He finally went under his 3.5 shot total last game in Boston as he finished with 3 shots. It was still good enough for a couple of goals, but he's been money on that shot prop lately as well. Money in DraftKings. If you're not playing him, you're probably losing at this point. The Devils, on the other hand, have lost 3 in a row and 7 of their last 8. They look non-competitive against Philly on Tuesday. I watched a good chunk of that game. They just looked horrible in a 6-1 loss to the Flyers. Blackwood is really struggling as well. A couple of soft goals going in on him. So he's having his struggles. The Devils are struggling in front of him as well. They're not in a great spot right now. And they're going against a team that's starting to roll. I just said Max Pacioretty is probably the hottest player in the NHL right now. I don't mind laying the juice here with Vegas, minus 165. I think the puck line's probably your better option if you want to get up to plus money, plus 145 for the puck line right now. I also don't mind the over 5.5. It's at minus 130 right now. I actually grabbed it at minus 110 when it opened, but I think we could see some offense in this one. Vegas continues to roll. I just mentioned the struggles of Blackwood and New Jersey defensively right now. You can hope the Devils pot a couple. So over 5.5 in Vegas seems to be the way that I would play this one. Next up, we have no line for this game right now, but apparently it is still going to happen. The Detroit Red Wings in Carolina to take on the Canes. The Canes have a ton of COVID issues, but they said they want to play this game. And I commend them for that. You know, a lot of teams have complained they've had COVID issues. They want to break. The Canes are saying, no, we've got players on the list, but we think we can ice a team here and we don't want to stop our season. And we think we can continue to roll. So credit to the Canes for that. Detroit has snapped a 3-game losing skid with a tight 2-1 win over the Isles on Tuesday. They did get Tyler Bertuzzi back from the COVID list in that game. He came in hot, cashing his shot prop, 5 shots on goal for Tyler Bertuzzi in that game. Like I said, the Canes managing some issues right now. They did have their game against the Wild postponed on Tuesday due to players testing positive for COVID-19. But right now, Jordan Staal, Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov, Seth Jarvis, Ian Cole, Steven Lorentz, all on the COVID list. at the moment for the Carolina Hurricanes. So they could be icing a pretty thin roster for this game. There were chances that maybe it would get postponed, but as we speak right now, sounds like the Canes are going to go ahead and play it. So with no line, tough to figure out how to assess this game. You would have to think that the Canes will still be a favorite in this game, even with all of those players that I just mentioned on the COVID list. So maybe you look to back Detroit as a dog here in what could be a tricky spot for Carolina with a lot of players out of the lineup. Seems like Detroit is going to be fully healthy for the most part. So it could be a chance to grab the Wings at plus money once we do see a line for this game at some point on Thursday. Next up, we've got the suddenly hot Philadelphia Flyers who really turned things around, minus 135 favorites on the road in Montreal to take on the Habs, who are plus 120 home dogs. The over-under is 5.5 for this game. Like I said, the Flyers have now won 3 in a row after their 10-game losing streak, which if you followed the Flyers over the last 5-6 years, even a decade, this is just classic Philly. They are so Jekyll and Hyde. They'll get hot. They'll get really cold. So when things go bad for them, they go really bad. And when things go good for them, they tend to go really good. So maybe this is the start of a big win streak for Philly to kind of get back all the games that they lost in that 10-game losing streak. 6-1 over the Devils on Tuesday. They looked really good after they went to the desert, picked up a couple wins against Vegas and against Arizona. They've really found their offense in the last 3 games as well, scoring 15 goals, so averaging 5 goals over their last 3 games. The Habs are just a disaster. They've lost 7 in a row, coming off of yet another loss, 5-2 against the Pens on Tuesday. They can't score 5 goals in their last 4 games. So roundabout way of saying, I think you got to ride the hot hand here and go with the Flyers. I actually grabbed the opener at minus 120 on the money line. I thought that was a nice price that might continue to go up. I'm seeing it at minus 135 right now, as high as minus 140. So if you like the Flyers, the price is starting to move a little bit. You might have to play the puck line if you want to get plus money, but I do think Philly continues to roll in Montreal and gets on one of these classic Philly hot streaks. Next up, we've got the Ottawa Senators, big dogs on the road in Tampa, plus 200 for the Sens on the road, coming off of that upset against the Panthers on Tuesday night. Tampa minus 250 on the money line at home. The over-under is set at 6 for this game. The Sens have actually won 2 in a row, including that game that I mentioned. 5 of their last 6 games. They're starting to heat up. Smashed Florida 8-2 on Tuesday. They beat these same Bolts 4-0 in Ottawa on Saturday with Brian Elliott in net. I would expect Vasilevsky to be between the pipes for Tampa instead on Thursday. So a bit more of a stiffer test for Ottawa being in Tampa, facing the starter. Norris and Batherson are looking really good right now. I like these kids up on the top line. Thomas Chabot starting to play much better on the back end as well. So I like the looks of Ottawa. I think they're going to be a pesky team throughout the back half of the season. I feel like some of their struggles are over, and they've had some really impressive wins lately. Anton Forsberg is actually playing great in net for them as well. Tampa's been playing great too. They've won 6 of their last 7 games. Their only loss actually coming to these Sens on Saturday, and they had a 3-2 overtime win against LA on Tuesday. They are still missing some key pieces though. Plus 200, I think we can ride with the Sens here. I mean, they just did beat Tampa. They beat Florida. They're beating some of these top teams. You're getting them at a 2-1 price. I think that's at least worth a sprinkle on Thursday to see if they can keep the good times going. It is tough going up against Vasilevsky in Tampa, especially in Tampa, but I'll ride with the Sens here, see if they can stay hot on the money line as big dogs. Next game, we don't have a line for this game either, but it's the Boston Bruins in New York to take on the Islanders. The Bruins had a 5-game point streak snapped with a 4-1 loss to Vegas on Tuesday. COVID issues are popping up with this team as Marchand and Craig Smith were placed on the list before Tuesday's game. They were not able to play, and now Patrice Bergeron has been added on Wednesday. So that's 2/3 of that top line for Boston, that at least 2/3 that won't be available for this game with Marchand and Bergeron both out. The Isles continue to struggle. They lost 2-1 to Detroit on Tuesday. Still haven't won back-to-back games since November 4th and November 6th. So it's been well over a month since the Isles have been able to string 2 wins together. Matt Barzal is on the COVID list right now, so they're dealing with some COVID issues as well. With no line, I don't have a play on this game just yet, but I'm going to continue to monitor what these lineups are going to look like. And I think the Islanders could be worth a play on home ice to try to get back into the win column here in this game. Next up, we've got a divisional matchup, Central Division clash between the Colorado Avalanche and the Nashville Predators. Colorado minus 145 favorites on the road in Nashville to take on the Preds, who are plus 125 home dogs. The over-under is set at 6 for this game. The Avs have actually won 5 in a row. They're just rolling right now. They've scored at least 3 goals in 15 of their last 16 games. It's just crazy how consistent this offense has been. And they've scored 7 goals in 6 of those 16 games. So they're putting up 7 spots with regularity. Fleury, Kadri, Nichushkin, Burakovsky. All these guys are really going right now, getting it from up and down the lineup. Landeskog and Byram are hurt right now, not in the lineup for Colorado. Devon Taves is on the COVID list as well. So they are missing some pieces, but doesn't seem to matter for them. Burakovsky's up on that garden seat. Val Nichushkin just looks like an absolute beast. The Preds are also hot. They've won 5 games in a row, just like the Avs have. Had their game Tuesday postponed due to COVID issues with the Flames. So they actually haven't played since Sunday. They'll be well rested for this game against the Avs. Johansson is on the COVID list right now. He's played well for the Preds this year. And Matt Duchene is day-to-day with an upper body injury and may not play in this game. So a couple top line players, a couple top 6 players for the Preds could not be available here. I think you got to roll with the Avs. As good as it's gone for the Preds, and they've actually been pretty decent on home ice, the Avs are just rolling right now. Minus 145, I think, is a pretty short price. I'd even play the puck line just with how much they're scoring. They're winning by multiple goals. So plus 175 for the Avs to win by a couple of goals, I think is a pretty fair price on Thursday night. Next up, we've got the Minnesota Wild, minus 320, big favorites on home ice to the Buffalo Sabres, who are coming off of an upset win, plus 250 for the Sabres on the road. The over-under is set at 5.5 for this game. The Sabres snapped an ugly 7-game losing streak with a 4-2 win in Winnipeg on Tuesday. Rasmus Dahlin is starting to get things going. He's been sneaky in the shot prop game. I've actually played him a couple times. You can get some nice plus money on the over 2.5 shots for Rasmus Dahlin. The Sabres have just 3 wins in 12 road games. So it hasn't gone well for them on the road this year, despite the fact that they did beat Winnipeg a couple nights ago in Winnipeg. The Wild have lost 2 in a row after their 8-game win streak. So they were rolling, slowed down a little bit. They did have their Tuesday game postponed. So they haven't played since Sunday. This Wild team should be well rested, fully healthy. They're 10-2 on home ice this season. So they've been really good in Minnesota. And the angle I've been playing with the Wild all year is Wild home overs. 11-1 now to the over 5.5 goals when Minnesota plays a home game. The only under fell under by a half goal, a 4-1 game. So every time Minnesota plays at home, they seem to open it up. They seem to score a lot. I'll go back to the well. It's been so good for me this season. Over 5.5 goals at minus 115 will be my play in this game between the Wild and the Sabres. Next up on the card, we've got the now reeling Edmonton Oilers, minus 195 favorites on home ice, with Columbus coming into town as plus 165 dogs. The over-under is set at 6 for this game. The Jackets have lost 7 of their last 9 games. They're coming off blowing a 3-0 first period lead in Vancouver on Tuesday. The wheels just fell off after a good start for the Jackets. They just give up so many high danger chances, and they've been really leaky defensively. So this doesn't seem like a great matchup for them, even though Edmonton has struggled to score. And these Oilers have now lost 6 games in a row. Like I said, they can't score. They have no depth, which I think is a major concern for them moving forward. But they have just 6 goals over their last 5 games. The Leafs handed it to them 5-1 on Tuesday. Zach Hyman is day-to-day with a shoulder. He could play in this game. We're not really sure right now, but I would lean towards the over. It feels like this is a bit of a get-right spot for the Oilers. I think they should win this game. These are the types of teams that they can beat up on, and they can run up the score. So over 6 goals, I think we could get there in this game if Edmonton cooperates and lets the Jackets score a few as well. Last game on the card, we have the Vancouver Canucks, undefeated against with Bruce Boudreau at the helm, plus 110 dogs in San Jose to take on the Sharks, who are minus 130 home favorites. The over-under is set at 5.5 for this game. Like I said, Canucks 5-0 now under Bruce Boudreau, an insane comeback against the Jackets on Tuesday, down 3-0 early. They win 4-3 in regulation. Bo Horvat bookends it. He scores the first goal. He scores the fourth goal. Elias Pettersson is finally starting to go as well, which is just huge. He's actually smiling for once. It looks like he wasn't really enjoying playing hockey there early in the season, but now it feels like he's having a bit more fun under Bruce Boudreau. The Sharks, on the other hand, lost 3-1 at home to Seattle on Tuesday in a pretty boring, uneventful game. The Timo Meier shot props have been absolute money, though, for him to go over 3.5 shots. That's certainly a play. Brent Burns is back in the shot prop mix as well. And even Logan Couture had 7 shots on Tuesday, went well over his prop. So there's a few Sharks, I think, to look at if you want to play the shot prop game. In terms of a side, I would lean towards the Canucks plus 110, but not a strong feel in this game. I don't want to go in front of Bruce Boudreau right now. And these Canucks at 5-0, I don't think I want to fade them, especially with the Sharks as pretty sizable favorites here, but I would give a lean towards the Canucks at some slight plus money. As for DraftKings, I think it's a really interesting slate. Anytime you got the top Oilers on it, I think that's kind of the first problem or issue you need to address. They've been a good fade lately because the Oilers have been really struggling to score, but this seems like a great matchup for them, maybe a get right spot. So I'd be careful fading Connor and Leon. I'm not saying you have to force them into your lineups, but just be wary of the fact that they could go off against Columbus on Thursday night. How do you not play Max Pacioretty right now, especially against the Devils team who just looks horrible defensively? Goals in 7 straight. He's up to $8,800 now. So he's in that McDavid and Draisaitl range where he should be. Could be a popular play on Thursday, though. So there might be some ownership that comes with Mad Max. Philly and Montreal. There's some interesting flyers I think here to look at. A couple in the top 6. Cam Atkinson coming off of a hat trick. Travis Konechny as well. Both of these guys just over $4,000. Minnesota top 6, I think, is another area to target. Marcus Foligno at $3,000. Joel Eriksson Ek at $5,300. Matt Zuccarello, also good options. Vancouver, there's a lot of cheap options between $4,000 and $4,500. Bo Horvat, Brock Besser, Elias Pettersson, Connor Garland, I think are all names you should give a look to fill out your lineup. As for Colorado, a couple interesting players in the top 6 that are just going right now. Burakovsky at $5,000 on the garden seat with Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen. I like that play. And Val Nichushkin is just a beast. $4,200 playing with Nazem Kadri. Still has his Dallas Stars jersey on in his DraftKings picture. So someone get on that. Get this guy an Avs jersey. He's been there for like 3 years now. Detroit at Carolina. I think you could maybe target some Canes that aren't on the COVID list, which is very few guys right now. Teuvo Teravainen at $5,000, Vincent Trocheck at $4,600, and Marty Necas at $3,200. I think are all good options for Canes players that look to be healthy and ready to go on Thursday night. That's it for me today. As always, remember to like the show, subscribe to the channel. Good luck with your picks and your lineups, and I'll catch you all next week.